Hello, everyone. Pardon me, what an introduction. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this stream. It's just going to be a random stream, just a couple of hours in the middle of the afternoon whilst I'm recovering from my morning 5K run. So yeah, just having a little bit of a look at a few different things. We've got Tata Steel, which has just started. So we've got the Masters and the Challengers. And we've also got still chess.com. CCCC still ongoing. I thought that the match between Torch and Leela had ended, but it seems to be carrying on still. And also the TCC with the 4K engines against Grandpa engines, which is also fun to dip into from time to time. So yeah, a lot of chess happening. Yeah, I mean, let's just. I was just going to go randomly through the games and then just see what's happening. Yeah, Alexander Donchenko against Wei Yi. I think this looks like some sort of E3 system against the King's Indian. Let's have a little look. Indeed, this is what it is. D4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight f3, bishop g7, e3. This was, I suppose, really brought to attention by Axel Smith in his in one of his books. I can't remember what the name is actually. It was in some ways a very good book, in some ways a really chaotic book as well. But had a lot of ideas, and yeah, I mean, this E3 idea. The problem, of course, is that knight C3 allows D5, which is a Grunfeld, and well, so much theory on that. So what you actually try and do is to play the move E3. So that after d5 takes, knight takes. If you go e4, there's no knight takes c3. Now you're losing a tempo with e3 to e4, but the fact that black isn't able to exchange off the knight and then follow up with c5 is thought to be pretty important. So yeah, e3. But of course, yeah, I mean, you end up castles, bishop e2. You're playing a sort of a quieter system against King's Indian or Benoni. And well, what Wei Yi does here is the most common line, which is to go for a Benoni where, yeah, instead of having played the move e3 to e4, white's only played the move e3. So in principle, you're a tempo down. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit of swings and roundabouts, really. With the pawn on e4, then the pawn obviously, gets under attack, a rook along the e file, the normal counterplay from black with b5 to b4 to undermine the knight on c3. With the pawn on e3, none of that is happening. So, white's a lot safer as well. It's, yeah, I mean, the system has been pretty popular, and yeah, yeah, the question always is that, an improved version of a modern Benoni, how good is that? Yeah, who knows? And well, we're going to have to try and prove it. But actually, quite interestingly, looks like Wei Yi has been whipping out his moves here, and presumably Alexander Donchenko was not expecting this opening from him, because he's already on 1 hour and 19 minutes. So still very much in theory, I think, but well, we'll see how all that works out later. Jordan van Foreest, local player against Alireza Firouzja, obviously just qualified for the candidates. Looks like some sort of French, indeed. So e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3, knight f6, bishop g5 played by Jordan, and yeah, I suppose interesting choice. Yeah, opening. Well, yeah, interesting choice. I call it a boring choice actually, but it's d takes c4 played. So well, I've played all sorts against this line. Bishop b4, the McCutcheon, is my absolute favorite, I have to say. Although, yeah, I did have some problems in a few lines, but well, thankfully it's all new stuff, not stuff that's generally known. So I felt that I could get away with it. And Nigel Shaw played bishop e7 a lot, the classical. Not really sure about it. Never really been able to get much enthusiasm for it. D takes c4, knight takes c4, and bishop e7 was what I've also played. That was I was just following actually a book by French expert John Watson, which always looked quite interesting. But here actually, what Jordan does is something quite surprising in the way. I've actually had this as black before, but I thought it was absolutely nothing. Because if you go bishop f6, then black can play the move g takes f6. Yeah, this is the way that Morozevich then plays it. Plays a6 and b5 and f5, and very aggressive. And it seems pretty good for well, you know, with some engine help, you're able to survive the downsides of this line. I ran a lot of engine games on this line. I was trying to find to use this line in the TCC Super Final, and yeah, I didn't really find much more than some amazingly sharp draws, really, for yeah, for both sides. But yeah, I mean, I've also played bishop takes f6 quite a bit. But what Jordan plays, he plays the move knight takes f6. So, well, you don't want to go g takes f6. Hey, Abdul Rahman. Because then the bishop can just retreat and you haven't lost the bishop pair. But after knight f6, bishop f6. Hey, McMux. Yeah, just takes on f6 here. And as I said, I've had this position. I thought this was just, when my opponent did it, I thought my opponent was just, you know, playing for a draw. And we got a draw in the end, though it was quite a sharp one. But yeah, I mean, if Jordan's playing this with white, then, you know, it's presumably quite serious. He's a serious guy, you know, and certainly not somebody who's just going to play for a draw here. So knight f3 played, and then castles. And then white plays this move, queen d3. Quite interesting. Just bear with me just one second, because I'm just going to try and find out for myself how my game went in this line. It's one of those terrible things that you find as you get older. You rely more and more on the games that you've played in your lines, and you try and bring them up, and the young players are saying, "Oh God, you know, what does that old guy want to show us from, you know, 1990 or whatever?" But it's yeah. Just made me laugh, actually, because well, I commentate every year on the Varsity match, and well, quite a few of the older English GMs are there, including Raymond Keane. And Ray's always sort of, you know, you come up, you show a position, and he says, "Well, this reminds me very much of I don't know, Rysovich against Keane from 1975. And, you know, you're always thinking, oh, 1975, that's so long ago. But then I suddenly realized, but I'm doing the same, but then from the 1990s, you know, it's just, yeah, it's just amazing how important, you know, your own practice really is for you. So yeah, let's have a look. How did my game go? That was actually from the Barcelona Open. So not that long ago, against a guy called Alonso Bacalao, 25-30 Grandmaster from, is that Cuba? I think it's Cuba. And yeah, he played, my game went queen d2 in this position. And then, I mean, basically, I was desperate not to play c5 and swap on d4 and just get an ending, basically. So I played quite sharply. b6, castles, bishop b7. He played knight e5 to stop me from developing, c5, bishop b5, a6, bishop e2, b5, bishop f3, takes, g takes f3, quite sharp, just opening up the g file there. Rook d8. Knight g4, queen e7, queen f4, knight c6. No, we're kind of going for it, really. Takes, knight h6 check, opening stuff up, and this just ended up being a draw somehow. Check, king there, check, king there, check, king there. That's how it went, basically. So, but yeah, this plan of b6 not so stupid. But I'm just thought about this game because. Well, here Jordan is playing queen d3, and of course, if I try to play my plan with b6, I imagine he'd probably play queen e4 and then follow up with bishop d3. So actually quite, yeah, actually quite nice somehow. Queen d3. Oh, it's been. I'm just having a look at the theory, and well, I'm seeing Maxime Vachier-Lagrave playing it very recently. Some games of Vladimir Kramnik, must have been some Blitz matches. Martin Kravtsiv playing it, a strong Ukrainian player. Yeah, I mean, some stronger people have played this basically. So yeah, quite interesting. Well, you know, c5. I mean, this sort of thing. I'm guessing we're saying c5 castles. You know, if you do something like this, white's just nicely better, and black's got no hope of winning. So you don't really want to do this with black. So Ali Reza played bishop d7, and then Jordan played the move queen e3. Yeah, I mean, what Jordan's playing for here, really? I mean, he's clamping down on the e5 square, and yeah, just sort of also kind of clamping down on a later c5. I mean, either black plays c5 now, when d takes c5, queen takes b2 is possible, or he forever holds his peace. And well, it looks like Ali Reza went for the other option, which looks a little bit passive to me, to be honest. Knight c6, castles, rook fd8, c3, knight e7, and now queen e5. So yeah, I mean, Jordan just going for you know, the slight edge approach, really. So just yeah, just trying to claim basically that he's a little bit better here, and he'll have a nice ending. And black's going to be a bit passive, but you know, the engines will just say, you know, this is 0.1, 0.2, something like that. They won't be very impressed by this at all. But yeah, you know, it can be a little bit irritating for a human player to defend, because obviously you're just defending with not much hope of you know, of anything positive, really. So no, I think you know, for a first round there, I'd say that that this is quite a good choice by Jordan. Yeah, I think I approve there, really. Hey, Ocelot, good to see you. All right, so nothing amazingly exciting there, but this one's a little bit interesting. This is well, this is a hotly anticipated game, of course. Vidit as white against Dingleren, making his well, playing his first classical game in, was it 250 days or something? H6. Wow, that would be that's quite a move. Okay. Thank you, Abdul Rahman. So this is Ding's first classical game. I think first in 250 days. Somebody said, a long time anyway. Yeah, been all sorts of thoughts really that he's been ill, and that's kept him away from the game. But well, hopefully recovered, and obviously the chess world is a lot better place when their world champion is playing. And yeah, obviously Ding's a nice guy, a very strong player as well. So good to see him back. So what have we got? We got a Nimzo Indian, and now Nimzo Indian with f3. Yeah, I mean Nimzo Indian is really a very good opening for black, I have to say. Very hard to really make something of it. I mean, I spent my whole professional career playing e3, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I started playing again in 2011, I had some success with it. But yeah, the more, you know, after every game, basically, I thought, oh yeah, you know, there definitely was a clear improvement for black, and I gradually had the feeling that yeah, there wasn't so much to play for with white, really. Queen c2 has also been, well, I don't know, more or less neutralized. I do have the feeling, but f3 is still very, very sharp. Plenty of good lines for black in principle, but all of them, yeah. All of them ask something of black, you know. So from that point of view, it's a very nice idea. I've always had a big fondness for the same-ish type systems. I mean, I used to play A3 as a youngster, influenced actually by Ray King's book, An Attacking Repertoire for White with 1d4. Very good book, actually. Very influential book for me for my openings. Kind of shaped the type of openings I played with 1d4 for the rest of my life, really. But yeah, f3 is pretty similar. I mean, you can transpose in many ways. So after d5, a3, so Ding plays back to e7. That's quite common. Bishop c3 is also possible, but bishop e7 is kind of the main line. And now we get sort of sharp takes. And now quite interesting. I mean, e5 was the move that in my day was the one that that Black played automatically. Yeah, nowadays they're not really. They're not. I think C5, if memory serves, is the latest hot thing. Just bear with me whilst I get my theoretical brain back into gear. Yeah, I mean, I think C5, actually C5. And I know where I saw C5 from. It was in one of my engine opening repertoire. The Dragon was very keen on C5 happening here, which surprised me at the time. But yeah, a lot of games now, a lot of high-level games in this. So D5 played. Actually, has it looks like Firouzja himself has played. In 2020, Firouzja played E5 against Vishyanand, but lost. So anyway, D5 played here. And then we get, let's have a look, just following the theory as I go. E takes D5, very common, and now E takes D5. Yeah, and I mean, in principle, you would have thought that this would be quite pleasant for white. I mean, nice center here, protected past pawn and all of that. I guess, the point is, missing an F pawn, it does have an effect somehow. You think of it just in terms of giving you attacking chances on the F file, but it does mean that you sort of feels like you're lacking a little bit of extra barrier along here. Maybe E3 square is a little bit sensitive. E4 doesn't quite have as much protection. E5 is quite free. You've got no pawn to chase it away. Somehow Black should get some good counterplay for the pieces. I mean, in general, I was never that keen on playing these sort of structures as white. I think I had one bad experience somewhere, and then afterwards you sort of say, "Oh, I'm never doing that again." That sort of thing. Leela versus Torch in CCC. Yes, I certainly will do, Jack. At some stage, I'll definitely segue over to there. No worries. Hey, Raphael, good to see you. So yeah, these are quite just to say that these are slightly tricky positions for white to handle. I always find that Black's play is a little bit freer somehow. But yeah, if you play it well, then it should go well. I guess Bishop E2 was a very subtle idea to avoid a quick Bishop G4. A6, Knight F3. Ding's sort of hinting at playing B5 like Abenko, but Vidit ignoring him. H6. So the idea of H6 is to put the bishop on D6 without allowing Bishop G5. And now Queen D2. Queen D2. Okay. So I'm wondering, yeah, just taking a quick look at the theory as I look there. Castles, Bishop E2. Seems to be crucial. I think I'm looking at some sort of opening book here, and they're all recommending these moves. H6 was played, hasn't been played very much, but was being played by Moisenko against Erigasi, so it must be a quite serious move. And I'm thinking that Bishop F4 is the novelty there. That's what it seems to be. So this move, Bishop F4, anticipating Bishop D6, seems to be it. And I think the game was. The game they were following was Erigasi against Moisenko. So yeah, well, Erigasi also Indian player, so wouldn't be completely impossible to think that the Bishop F4 is a novelty cooked up by these guys. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, Black wants to get some dark square pressure, so you're just sort of covering it. On the downside, you're going to swap off the dark square bishops, so you're going to lose. White's going to lose some control of the dark squares. But yeah, just makes development a little bit more tricky for Black, because you can't go knight bd7 because of bishop d6. So yeah, rook e8 and then castles. I was mainly wondering whether castle queenside was an idea, but not wanted. And bishop g4, and now Vidit is thinking there. Obviously, as a total lunatic, the first thing that I'm attracted by is bishop h6, but I would, I guess that's never going to work. You just, you just have stuff like bishop f8, and then off you go. that's the problem of having played really only bullet in the last year. You do that, but I mean, at some stage you sort of feel that black's going to take on f4 and play knight bd7. So you've got to try and work out what the best way of developing for that would be. Not very sure about it, really. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, bishop d3 is sort of interesting in order to, to take like this, but I wonder whether, I don't know whether you have to take on d7 first of all, but just maybe a bit irritating that these two guys are. But maybe I don't know. Maybe you could just go back to c2 then, and possibly have the rook coming over here somewhere. And bishop d3 is definitely a serious move. Just trying to think about another sort of idea. Yeah, I mean, not really necessarily a concrete recommendation there, but I mean, the idea of having the knight on f5, that this bishop gets exchanged and the knight gets onto f5 is very, very tempting somehow. I was vaguely looking at knight h4, but there you could probably take and go knight e4, and this one is kind of loose. But something with knight h4 would be quite interesting somehow. Yeah, I don't know. What else could you do? Sort of feeling bishop d3 is really the move that I'm sort of thinking of. I mean, rook e1 is possible, but I'm not really quite sure why I really want my rook on e1. I think bishop d3. I like bishop d3. Takes control of e4 as well, and maybe after bishop d3, you're also looking for stuff like knight h4. So bishop d3 would be my go-to move there. Quite interesting. I mean, also from the theoretical point of view there. So no, not bad. Let's have a look. Do we have anything else that looks thrilling? Well, I'm sorry, you and Yun against Anish. Well, I wouldn't spend too much time on that one because, well, it is interesting. Absolutely. You and Yun has played sort of a King's Indian attack against the Sicilian. Yeah, I quite always like these for white somehow. I mean, I'm very tempted to just play f5 here, I have to say. But that's the problem. The engine's always telling me these moves are not good, but somehow they scare me to hell if I'm black. I mean, that might be possible. I mean, you could also go play a move like knight. Actually, I have to say, I like what's happened with white. I like this very much indeed for Yun. Oh, good Lord, we got the accuracy score here. My goodness. I'm glad they didn't have that in my day. That would be too embarrassing. But we got a couple of absolutely bonkers games here. Well, I mean, this one definitely is bonkers. But the game between Varmadam and Nepomniachtchi is also quite interesting. What on earth is this? Gukesh against Absud. Oh, good Lord. I should have worked out how to pronounce his name. Now I'm not even seeing all of his name. Against Nordibek. Let's just say that. Nodibek, actually. So what is this? How can we get this from an Italian game, a quiet Italian game? Yeah, this move knight c3. I commentated on the women's European Bliss Championship, where young English player, 8-year-old Bodana, really well excelled herself with 8.5 out of 13, and well done to Alexandra Kostenyuk for winning the whole thing. But yeah, you saw a lot of knight c3 happening in that tournament, and in the good old days, knight c3 was a bit of the amateur move. Around the 1900s, the great players like Schlechter and Tarrasch and Teichmann, they were all trying out these knight c3 ideas, but gradually the thought became that, oh no, the knight should always come round to d2 and here. But funny to see knight c3 stuff happening here. So I don't know how much of this is going to be theory. I wouldn't have thought it would be. Would this really be theory? Can I actually grab the PGN easily from here? No, that's the video. Always sorry, I'm not quite familiar with the old chess.com interface here. I should really try and work that out. It's let's have a little look. I'll just type it into to my database program, and then we'll just have a little look to see whether that's theory or not. Hard to believe, really. The moves look a little bit random, really. Looks a little bit like a blitz game to me, but it could well be. It could well be all incredibly deep. So bishop e3. Let's have a look. So loads of games here. Caruana playing stuff as black. Oh, Abdusattorov has played this with black before, so not too surprising. So bishop e3. King h8 was played by Abdusattorov before. Now he's playing queen c8. It may transpose. King h1. Is this a novelty? Could be. We might end up transposing again, though. King h8. And now rook g1. And knight d4. Are we transposing back to something? No, it doesn't look like it. So it really looks like this move, we're in uncharted territory. And White's obviously prepared this idea of king h1, rook g1, and g4. Well, let's have a look. So I think black obviously has to go all in. That's the only point. Takes, knight d5 and bishop g5. I mean, at first sight, I wouldn't actually be thinking that this is particularly convincing for black, really. I have to say. But okay, knight takes c7. Ooh, bishop h5. So looking for queen h3 check here, clever. Okay, and you're just going to give up the queen this way. This must all be engine stuff, I guess. Rook c8, knight b5, and then f5. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd just say that white is just way better here. I mean, that would be my feeling. So many loose pawns, and the white king, a little bit exposed, but fairly safe. But I would expect, what's the time situation? 119 against 127. Well, I wouldn't really expect, this sort of time usage if you didn't know it. But e takes f5. Giving a question mark, are we? D5 and bishop takes d5. Ooh, bishop d5. I was more expecting, intuitively, I'm more expecting bishop b3, not giving this c2 pawn away. But yeah, I mean, in all fairness, what do I know? What on earth is happening here? I've just got no clue. So, I mean, the thing that you're thinking of course, is rook takes c2 here. I mean, that's clear because I'm guessing that, moves like rook f5 simply allow bishop e6 here. And I guess there's nothing, is there? I can't see any sort of escape there. So rook takes c2. And now, yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of hanging pawns here somehow. Maybe rook f5 might become possible due to some, I don't know, some sneaky tricks or something involving the second rank. Not sure. And obviously, definitely rook f2 is a move that you might want to play. I mean, I think in general, what you'd also want with white, if you had your choice, it would be to be able to bring this knight back somewhere into play. So this is quite difficult to say. How do we want to organize our pieces here? I mean, in general terms, I mean, we could play a move like rook g2 quite easily because, well, the point is, well, here rook f5. We've got bishop e6 there. That's looking going to look pretty good. I'm always looking for some tricks somehow, but I'm not really getting them. And actually, bishop e6. Sorry, queen h5 was something I'd thought of, but Knight takes d4 could be quite irritating, I think, because I'm just threatening to. I've got this fork here, and I don't think you've got anything. Don't think you can do anything in particular there, really, to make that fork go away, really. So rook g2 doesn't look so stupid. Queen f5, of course, I've got knight d4 as well. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, rook g2 intuitively feels quite sensible, just to protect that one. And the idea is I'm sort of thinking, well, my next move, if black can't take this pawn on f5, my next move will just be bishop e4, and maybe bishop e6. I don't know, but anyway, I'm going to consolidate, and my knight can move to d6 or to d4. Really, I should be doing quite decently. So, I mean, that feels like that's a first sort of impression for me. I don't know whether I could do something like maybe queen h4, maybe protects the pawn on d4 and also attacks the pawn on f2. And because I'm getting out of all these forks and everything, I could maybe go rook f5. That might be a decent idea. I'm vaguely wondering about playing a move like knight d6, have some knight f7 checks or whatever. I mean, what a position, incredible. So I imagine this is quite deep preparation, at least for one of the players. Well, probably for both of the players. Maybe one player's still in his prep. Who knows? Have we had another move yet? Rook takes c2 played. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what other moves could I suggest? Just brainstorming. I mean, rook f2 is not the end of the world. I mean, you could go. Pardon me. Bishop g2 or rook g2. I just had a 5k run this morning, a little bit recovering from it. That is true. So I mean, you could play moves like like bishop g2, for example, and if you go queen h4, then I go rook g4, queen f2, knight d4 or something. It's just that I sort of assume that if black gets the second rank clear, that there'll always be counterplay somehow, just because with so many major pieces, and of course with the second rank clear, it means the first rank becomes a little bit more vulnerable as well. So yeah, I mean, first intuitive feeling really would be that I do need to keep this this second rank clear. So I do quite appreciate rook g2. This move queen h4 is a little bit awkward there, but yeah, maybe I can just go bishop e4. Just do it like this, something like this, maybe. Takes. Queen f6 stuff. Two knights against the queen like that. Yeah, most likely black's completely fine here, I guess. Crazy line, incredible. And then the last one is also quite cool to see. I thought this was going to be a Queen's Gambit accepted, actually, but it's actually a Vienna with this crazy move, b5. Amazing how many of these things, these things were just thought to be impossible in my day, and now people are just playing them, really. Not quite sure where I saw this, first of all. I think did one of those courses recommend this move somewhere? Or did Richard Pert, even in his magazine book, end up in something like this? I'm not sure. Maybe not. I'm probably misremembering there. But I mean, nearly 1,000 games in this line. So yeah. So e5, knight d5, knight b5, knight b6, and I think this is very clearly inspired and even transposing, maybe, isn't it? Transposing. No, surely not. No, not transposing. But it's very much inspired, I think, by one of Great Victor Korchnoy's lines, which is in the Queen's Gambit Accepted, which was to go a6, e4, b5, e5, knight d5, a4, and then e6, and after a b5, knight b6. Yeah, the idea of this line was that you give back that pawn on b5, you keep hold of the pawn on c4, which makes the development of the light squared bishop more difficult, and you sort of keep black a little, white a little bit cramped there somehow. So yeah, I'm sure that some inspiration was taken from there. And the key point is really that even if white manages to win this c4 pawn for the light squared bishop, or with all these light squares around the central pawns there, it's plenty of compensation always. So yeah, I mean, this line has been discussed at the highest level. I think that after that e5 is definitely it's definitely been the main line. So knight b5, knight b6. Bishop e2, I mean, we are going to be going very deep into theory now. Knight c6. Now, yeah, castles has been played the most now, but bishop e3 is another major idea. Looks like it's been played by a lot of very good players there. And now bishop e7. Still main line. Yeah, I mean, you're just going to develop bishop e7, bishop b7. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next after bishop e7. The move knight c3 was played, which is quite interesting. I mean, normally this is very much, I'm pretty convinced this is an engine move, because it's one of those things that human players we really have a tendency to wait until we're driven away sorry, I'm trying to get my my restream back. Hey, rook g2, queen f5, knight d4, queen takes d5. The position is crazy. Yeah, that's true. I guess we'd have. Sorry, Abdul Rahman, I missed your. But we'd have knight e3 at the end, so we'd be covering everything. But actually, I must say, rook and two knights against queen with weak pawns again. That's not going to be very much at all. So look, a4 before knight c3 to not allow knight a5. In the only, you mean, I'm not sure. There must be something subtle in there. I think they tend not to worry about black taking on c4. You just allow them to take back on c4, and you get those pawns on c4 and e4. So yeah. But these, sorry, I was talking about the about knight c3, and engines are very often coming up with these moves. Okay, my knight's done its job. It's coming back to c3. I want to redeploy it, and they don't even wait for those sort of moves to be played. It's quite something definitely to bear in mind there. So a3 played. So I mean, actually, what white is trying to do here is just try and get the rook to d1 very quickly, make this pawn safe, and then I guess, to be honest, that the idea is. Well, I mean, just imagine now. I'm not saying that these are the best moves or anything. I don't know. Let's find the move for black, something like this, maybe queen c8. I think the idea would be, well, we protect the pawn on d4, we get all that sorted, but then we can do some stuff like h4, knight g5. We don't need to castle. Just if black castles kingside, then we can already start attacking. I think that's the general point. And but actually, what black does here, what Jan does, is just isn't going to bother at all about kingside castling. He's just looking for queenside castling, and quite intriguing to know actually. It'd be quite intriguing to know what the engine thinks of this somehow, because I've seen a lot of positions like this. Not exactly like this, but from knight c6, 3e4, knight f6, Queen's Gambit Accepted, and I'm always thinking, ooh, this looks like nice compensation for black, lots of open lines, and the engine's just saying, what a disaster. So yeah, it's not totally clear there, but let's have a look. Just see see what theory is actually saying. Yeah, I mean, this plan of delaying castling seems to be quite unusual in actual fact from Varmadan. That's I'm sorry, did this really happen? Oh my goodness me! There's presumably an infamous game, Makarian against Vincent Keimer, where in this position after knight a5, White decided to show that this move knight a5 was somewhat loose and lost the queen to knight a4. So queen c2 is in fact a novelty, and in general terms, you can definitely say that it's more successful than queen a4 check. Where we will see whether this move whether this move transposes back to anything but queen d7, rook d1, f5. No, yes, queen d7. We transposed back to some quite good games here. Oh yeah, we've got loads again. So we must have just stepped out of opening theory for a while. f5. Yeah, this is still being played by Pichot, Kollars, Azarov. Lots of games going on here. Takes. Lots of theory here. And now castle kingside is again a main idea. But yeah, Max really obviously looking to, he really wants to keep the king where it is for the moment. And he's playing knight e4. And we've got some decent games here. Suleimenov against Pichot in this line. And then Oslund against Krivatin, slightly lower rated game here. Yeah, Queen A4 was actually played in the lower rated game here. Queen A4, and Queen A4 check was played in this game, which doesn't feel right at all, I have to say. So Queen B1 looks like that. That I think is the novelty from Max. Queen B1. Will that be the novelty? It looks like it. Queen B1. Well, it's pretty sensible, really, isn't it? Castles, and then still very concretely not castling kingside at all, but playing knight c5. And after takes, knight d5, going castles. Well, I can tell you that would not have been a move I would have guessed at. Castles. Really? Sorry, my sort of ugliness alert is sort of yeah, I don't know. I mean, just knight e3 somehow. Sort of thinking it feels so loose. All of this, just weak pawn, and I mean, actually, come to think of it, queen b3. Is there anything particularly wrong with queen b3? Hitting this pawn. I can go c3 afterwards, really. Just doesn't look that amazing for white. Maybe queen c1, just to protect and just say I'm threatening knight d4, something like that, knight d2, or well, knight d2, e3 is unprise, but something like that eventually. No, e5. Possible. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably too much. I was vaguely wondering about playing c3 now, actually, and if b4 just to go knight b3 and try and make this work. Yeah, I mean the idea is queen c2. I've got knight c5. That's the idea. It's amazing, really, how how often just spotting a small tactic is enough to tailor your plan for the rest of the game. Irrespective of whether it's a good idea or not. But in principle, I mean, just using the c pawn and I mean, I suppose what I'm a little bit unsure about here is how exactly should Black be trying to do this? I mean, should I be playing super actively, or should I be trying just to consolidate a little bit? I mean, even moves like just queen c6 hitting this c5 pawn. Not queen b5, by the way, because b4 would be rather embarrassing. You can't take on Basson because I take that, and knight b3, there's queen b3, but queen c6, would that really be wrong? what on earth are you doing about it? I mean, bear in mind that the move knight d4, hitting this and this, is ever so slightly difficult. I wasn't looking at it. Of course, it took me a second to realize I wasn't actually looking at it in that context. I was actually looking at this sort of idea and thinking, oh, could I sacrifice a few pawns just to get my pieces active? But not quite. Yeah, actually, what are you doing? Actually, I'm not amazingly convinced by this, but yeah, I mean, obviously, if Max has analysed this at home, then presumably it's he's found something. But yeah, I don't know. Even this move, Queen C6, is quite simple, and well, it looks like Jan has played Rook DG8, which is also quite sensible. Though I'm a little bit sad at not taking that bishop on E3, but presumably the aim is to take it in the future. But yeah. I actually saw I got an amazing idea somehow, but presumably it's not working. I mean, I want to go Queen E4 in this position, just to just to cover. And I've got Queen E6 there, so if Knight C3, I can always go Queen E6. But I've actually got a threat of just imagine that you played a random move like H5, for example. I think I've actually got a threat of B4 in this position, because if CB3, then I've got Queen A4. But I suppose I could just play a move like King B8 or something, and after B4 maybe have Knight C3, something like that. Would be quite strong. So I think King B8 would be a little bit irritating. Well, White would definitely need a good reply there. Definitely need something sensible to do against this, some threat of a discovered attack. Well, I mean, definitely most subtle refutation definitely is Rook B1. The idea being Knight C3, I go BC and then pin you. Yeah, I don't know. It's a sort of move that I'd only really want to play if my engine said yes, it's a good move. I mean, I'm pleased for spotting it, but not sure about it. But this is going to be pretty. This is pretty crazy, really. I don't know. I mean, how much time has Max got? Ooh, 102. So this is sort of looks like improvisation now. This is going to be a difficult position, I think. Oh, Gukesh played my Rook G2. It looks like well done, Gukesh. I'm not sure that that's reassuring for you that you're playing my moves, but yeah, pretty good stuff. All right, well, we got a request to have a look at Torch versus Leela, so let's make a little step out and do that. Ooh, I do actually want to hide the chat. Do forgive me, but it's something that I do on chess.com. So let's have a look. What is Leela against Torch? What opening did we have? So a good old-fashioned Slav. So if Mr. Beads is watching this stream, which obviously I would expect him to, then he's got some sort of Slav there. Not a very exciting one, I have to say. Basically, White's just got a double pawn center and everything he wants, really. You haven't even made it hard for White to recapture this pawn on c4. So this is obviously going to be a nice advantage for White. But quite a decent position. Test the engines in how they play these positions with less space. I mean, we had... this has been one of I think one of Jeroen's Noman's richest openings in the TCC. He had a Smyslov variation. This is the sorry, yeah, I can't do this on here. But A4 Knight A6. He had many games. It's been back in many super finals, and well, I mean, the engines have just been finding lots and lots of stuff. Did I do a video on that in the end? I'm not sure. I think I did all the analysis and prepared the video, and then I had to go. I think I had to go abroad for work, and I've maybe never done it. Oh, I have to have a look, because that's been really, really interesting. So it's quite similar from that point of view, but somehow this one's even more passive. But it was sort of interesting in the sense that also that when this game was played in the super final 20 or something like that, I analyzed it for Silicon Road to Chess Improvement, and you sort of have the feeling, well, surely the engines have found the optimal defense. But 3 or 4 seasons later, you're looking and they're finding just completely different stuff. And whereas before it looked like virtually a force win for white when Stockfish was playing it with white, now it's looking more like oh yeah, this is just a draw. So yeah, just very very interesting. I mean, those are very good indications sometimes of just how how much stronger. Are engines getting any stronger? They most certainly are. Hard to people do claim that it's not so much in terms of elo, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it feels still like a lot, to be honest. It's rook c1, rook c8, bishop b1. Good play from Torch. This is I was playing this plan a lot against the Slav. Just bring my rook c1, bishop back to b1. Found this move in a lot of lines. Bishop b4, bishop g5, h6, bishop e7. I mean, Leela is just basically trying to play around. This looks very much like a late 19th century game, to be honest, between Schlechter and Lasker, where Lasker is sort of keeping it tight at the back and just waiting for things to happen. King h2, knight a4. So that's quite an interesting choice from Torch. Wouldn't have been my natural choice. Been looking more to do a Gukesh actually, and rook g1 and try and get in g5. But Torch decides to swap the pawn structure around and put a pawn on c5 like this. Interesting. Yeah, and Leela also interestingly enough gives up the dark squared bishop and then puts the pawn on dark squares. I think the reason that Leela gave up the dark squared bishop here was that if you went knight c5 dc, then the black queen doesn't find it very easy to find a square. After bishop c5 dc, yeah, e7 is a much better square. And you play this move e5 and just shut off the bishop from play a little bit. So not bad. So a3, this is very nice. Bishop a2. Bishop wasn't doing very much, just looking at e4. So the bishop comes to this diagonal. f6, knight h4. The idea is if the bishop would come to f8, then we've got knight f5, which would be very unpleasant. So knight e6, and there's an interesting move. Yeah, that sort of shows. Well, I mean, now you can understand why, because I mean, we're threatening knight d4 and knight c5. But yeah, the bishop takes c6, giving up your lovely bishop pair is the move that you were planning all along to make this work. Yeah, not so obvious somehow. But yeah, I mean, the key point is that you've got this nice line square pawn structure that's keeping this bishop out of play. It can get to g8, of course, but yeah, I mean, it's got a diagonal, but it doesn't have that much scope somehow. Knight f8, rook d1, rook e6, rook d2. So yeah, e6 is free for the knight, but we can cover it with bishop f2, for example. And that's what white does. So this bishop's coming round to e3, and we're going to cover f4 and d4. And well, if bishop moves away, we'll get our knight into f5, and otherwise we'll have to find a spot for the knight. So Leela trading. Queen a5. Yeah, I mean, white's got the d file, but black is actually pretty solid here, really. Bishop b3, king h7. Good to get the king off the back rank since white can get there. And yeah, also ideas of knight e6. Knight f5, h5. h5, that's always a risky move, especially when the black king's on the h file. And it feels more likely, really, that white could exploit it than black. But okay, interesting. Takes. Wouldn't have been really my thought, to be honest. I would have thought more about keeping it tight at the back. But I suppose when you play a move like h5 takes g4, it means that white doesn't get the move h4 to h5 really. So yeah, it's queen c6 and queen takes c5. Oh, good Lord! Sorry, I'm missing some of the comments, I'm afraid. But yeah, so sorry about that. So bishop f5, gf5. Jack, no, I haven't seen the black win by Torch. I'm not sure which one that is. There's a lot of games happening. Of course, we're 452 games in there. What I generally do is that after the event takes place, I I do some, I get all the games together and then do some checking and then have a look at it. So there's a number of the game that you think is nice. Give a shout out, and I'll have a look at it after the stream. So Queen F7, Queen D2. Yeah, okay. So we're sort of white's sort of ahead here, but black's very, very solid here. A4, A5 played. White piece is sort of entrenched here, but yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the evals here, it's going to 0.22, 0.42. Vila's going to hold this one. Game 3-2-2. Okay, that's great because we're on 3. What are we on now? We've gone way, way further there. It just goes so fast on this site. Yeah, this is just going to end up a draw, isn't it? Really, absolutely. Oh, this is the current position. Well, not much has happened. All right, let's go away from there and have a look at the Masters and just see whether we've got anything that grabs our fancy. Well, there's quite a lot of interesting stuff. Hans Niemann against Liam Vrolik. Vrolik playing quite aggressively there. This game of Anton Korobov's also looks quite interesting. And we've got Elina Rubers, young Dutch prodigy. I am already. How old is she? 14, something like that. Strong player. Playing against Leon Mendonca. And we've got the good old Erwin Lamy. So he's, I think he's younger than me, to be honest, but feels like my generation somehow, even if he's a bit younger. Just taking on Daniel Dada in the Caracal there, looks like, and well, I think he's doing quite decently. Let's have a little look at this game. It's Saleh Salem against Anton Korobov. How did this happen? It was a knight off bishop g5. That pretty much is clear. And now knight bd7. Yeah, in my day, this was just thought to be a big error. But somehow, yeah, the engines just make it all work. And now it's kind of a main line, really. I mean, you have to be careful where you put the queen because bishop e6, tricks are all in there. But somehow they've decided that that these mostly work. But here, yeah, Anton Korobov plays queen c7, which is really asking for it. His opponent does not wait one moment and plays this move bishop e6. Yeah, I mean, sometimes when the black king is on e8, you do this in order to take the pawn on g7, come back to f5 and have compensation. But here you're just doing it for material. But, you know, in principle, you would say that 2 pawns and a rook for 2 pieces, and it's only knight and bishop, it's not 2 bishops, broken pawn structure, and this very solid pawn structure for white. I would assess this as much better for white. Don't know what the engines are saying. Yeah, they're just saying equal, aren't they? But I think that this would be easier to play for white than for black, to be honest. So castles, b5, king b1, bishop b7, rook e1. Pretty solid play from white. Not trying to do too much, just putting the pieces in the center. b4, and now knight e2. Yeah, I mean, white really would very much like to exchange off queens. I think if you exchange off queens here, then well, you're much more likely to be able to focus uninterrupted on this weak d pawn. You know, so but a5, knight d4, a4. Black obviously not sort of allowing that too much. a4. So yeah, maybe vaguely thinking about playing b3 here. White play the move b3, which feels natural. You know, you're putting more pawns on light squares, restricting this this bishop here. So a b3 and then cb3, and queen f7 here. So yeah, what is white going to do here? Well, I mean, I do have to say that I'd be very tempted to play either knight f5 or knight b5 and just go for the d pawn. I mean, queen b4 would also interest me, although you're sort of putting yourself in the way of a discovered attack here somehow. So that makes me a little bit more nervous. But who knows? Then maybe you could keep on evading that in a good way. Yeah, I mean the reason I like knight b5 is that it feels like I'm going to get my queen active if I capture on d6, and if you go d5, then I go e5, and I'm just gonna play e6 here, and I mean that looks pretty strong, really. Unless black's got something, but I can't really think what it would be. So, oh good lord, if you don't spill your coffee all over your parents' carpet. Yeah, what would this actually be? What would black actually do here? I suppose, well, just looking at passive moves, I could play rook a6, defend d6. Would not be so stupid. Rook comes across, stop e5 to e6. He might be threatening d5. It might be possible. It's definitely odd, I'll give you that, but it's not so stupid. The thing that really occurs to me as first is just to play a move like knight c5. I mean, I'm just thinking, would I be able to do this sort of move? And that's kind of the thing that I'm thinking of. Yeah, I mean, just just in general, I'm just thinking of crazy stuff like this. Rook a2, take some queen c2 here. So yeah, I mean that would sort of be vaguely possible, I suppose. Knight c5. It feels, feels very risky. But yeah, it's a complicated position. Yeah, definitely a complicated position, this one. Not sure about how that one's going to go, I have to say. Let's have a look. Masters Live Games. Oh, I should have gone there. Oops. Yeah, Hans Niemann against Liam Vrolik. Yeah, in principle, I quite like white here, really. I mean, this pawn is weak, of course, but yeah, there's again, it's the advantage of this f pawn that we talked about in the other game. All these squares are weak, and this black king feels a little bit exposed. So, yeah, not really sure. Not really sure. Yeah. Yeah, it feels to me like white's doing pretty well here, unless some tactics really work. And yeah, I don't know, not 100% sure why they really should. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But in principle, I think Hunt is in good shape here. All right, let's have a little drop into the TCC. What have we got here? We've got Glaurung, which, for those you don't know, this was the precursor to Stockfish. So this was really the engine that that started it all, that ended it all for us. Now, I mean, there are lots of strong engines before that, but yeah, this is the granddaddy of them all. And playing against ST, against Strong, I suppose. Yeah, how did this happen? Because it's quite a dramatic little opening here. So Queen's Gambit accepted. Oh, and Bishop b6. This is the Rouses line. It's quite sneaky in actual fact, this line. I mean, yeah, the idea is that black plays the move. Oops, sorry, black plays the move c6, and then has if you go knight g5, he's got queen a5 check, forking knight and king. That's a big sneaky thing to it. He's won a few games with that. But knight c3, c6, and then queen c2. Quite impressive from Glaurung, not trying to get the pawn back, just playing for compensation here. It's quite quite common way of doing it. Actually, to be honest, the very first person that I saw playing in this sort of way, just against the Slav and semi-Slav, not trying to win back the pawn, but just playing b3 and going for a structure, is David Janowski against Karl Schlechter. And yeah, there's a game in the Re-Engineering the Chess Classic series with that. And yeah, very impressive. Very, very impressive indeed. But yeah, it's interesting to see Glaurung doing that. Bishop d3, bishop h6. Strange move, maybe, from black. I guess stopping the knight moving to g5, but a little bit weird to put it there. I don't think you particularly want to swap off the dark square bishops because that just leaves your, moves like squares like c5 a little bit weak, really. But okay. Castle. So in general, I'd sort of say that Glaurung has come out quite nicely from the opening there. So this is by the way, the old machines against the 4K machines. So the machines whose program is not bigger than 4K. That's a slightly, I think that's slightly interpreted slightly creatively because I think that some of the engines, their script is sort of 4K, but then it sort of expands, during runtime or something. So or compiles some stuff and ends up being bigger. But still, extremely impressive engineering achievement. And these engines are, 2700, 2900, 3000. So just like way stronger than me. So yeah, just with that little that little space for them is really very impressive indeed. Well, we'll keep a little eye on that just to see it. I think not quite sure what the first event of the TCC will be. I think it might well be Mr. Bede's Swiss, so which is a Swiss but with TCC scams. So so looking forward to that. Always a fun event, that one. 45 machines taking part, and at the end, Stockfish wins. So the normal, the usual, you know how it goes. Let's have a look. I'm drawing towards the end of my stream now. I'll probably carry on until about 3 o'clock. Promised to help my dad with some emails and stuff that he's been receiving. So just need to make sure that happens. Let's have a look at what we got here. Quick look at Vidit against. That's changed a little bit, hasn't it? I had that before. Fair enough. Against Vidit against Ding there. So what's actually happened there? After Bishop G4, he went Bishop D3. Vidit. So yes, all these players following the recommendations of a balding 50-year-old grandmaster. That's good. Knight D2, Bishop H5, Bishop F5, Bishop G6. So Ding willing to accept double pawns like that just to get rid of the bishop. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, black's still active here, of course, but I don't know. Feels like this should be quite nice for white, don't you think? Just rook e1 and just claim that you've got the black doesn't really have a great deal going for him. Not sure, solid, I suppose. Maybe you can be just irritating and attack the queen side like this. I don't know. Doesn't feel amazing to me, this for black, I have to say. But yeah, I mean, it could easily also be preparation. So you never know. But even knight e4 looks pretty natural to me, really. I just thought the white stands very nicely here, but yeah. Always wary of it simply being, preparation and theory from these guys. But yeah, not sure. 0.58 the engine was saying I saw there. So let's have a look here. So this is quite interesting, isn't it? Because it looks like he has played Queen H4. Oh, that's right. I've got this one open already. He's played Queen H4. Well, there we are. I'm guessing quite well, aren't I? Hey, Slow Slav. Sorry, nearly at the end of the stream, I'm afraid. So you haven't been very lucky between no internet yesterday and coming to the end. But I'm going to be randomly popping out and do streams. I'm just practicing a little bit, just getting used to all the events pages and gradually hoping to get some sort of really understand all the interfaces a little bit better. So he did play Queen H4, which was good. Yeah, and now we're sort of wondering what he should play. I mean, Bishop E4 was one thought I had. Knight D6 vaguely was a thought I had. I don't know whether you could Oh, great. Hope you enjoyed it, Slow Slav. It's quite nice, actually, that Queen D2 perk series, and actually all the perk series. They've got some nice engagement. Actually, lots of people have been looking at it and been interested by it. So that's always nice. Yeah, I mean, always happy with my. Thanks, Slow Slav. Always happy with my faithful band of followers who, always interested in lots of different stuff. But yeah, also good when from time to time you sort, because I mean, I'm doing all this engine stuff, and yeah, I think it's just fantastic. I mean, it's just so good. The games are so amazing, and all of that, and sometimes you really think, well, come on, everyone, surely you can see how amazing they are. So yeah, from time to time, something like this happens, and then you see that there's there's a lot more people who who are able to appreciate how engines play, and what the things that they find, and the amazing ideas that you can discover together with them. That's really nice as well, just to know that I mean, it's fine that there's so many good chess content out there. I don't expect my channel to get millions of views, but it is nice to know that people really appreciate just how good the engines are. That does make it quite nice. But yeah, Queen H4. This is need a good solution now here, really, or I think Black's just going to create enough holes in White's position that basically White just won't be able to do anything with the minor pieces because the king will be too exposed. That's really my feeling if Rook F2 happens. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're threatening Rook F5, and then afterwards you're going to take on F2. So I mean, not easy at all. Probably, I mean, Bishop E4, Rook F2, Knight D4. I explained would be my safe move, but yeah, I mean, I think you take on here and then play Queen F6. I think it's probably just fine for Black. So interesting. But looks like very good preparation from Black there. And then this is the other. Well, this is quite interesting. I was going to say I thought this looked pretty promising for White, and well, the engine's saying 0.71. So yeah, this is looking pretty good for Yuan against Anish. Very good player, Yuan. Very good player. So I followed her games in the Women's World Championship. The Greek gift. Yeah, that was brilliant. That was really cool, Abdul Rahman, wasn't it? That Stockfish Greek gift really had everything you could ever dream in there. Really was incredible. But yeah. I mean, what would I be tempted to do here? I think I'd be tempted just to go King H1 and then try and play G4 and H4 or something. But yeah, this is looking not an easy game for Anish to start with there. Local players never have it easy. Obviously, Anish much more than a local player. One of the strongest players in the world. Ooh, the engine is not liking what Max is doing, and to be honest, I sort of agree. This move Rook D4 was a little. This move G3 was really. I'll take the engine lines off there, but was really felt like all wrong, really. Because I mean, it's G3 is fine if you're if you're really blocking the attack, but yeah, this guy's there's this attack as well, and this is really this really feels like it's all falling apart horribly there. Thanks, Blair. Always rooting for Anish. Yeah, I like Anish as well. I like it very much when he does well. It's funny to follow on Twitter, and always always pretty good humoured. Always some sort of funny, witty comment. It's a great position. This E4 B5 line in the opening, really very very nice here. But G3 is horrible, and I mean I mean it's a total nightmare, right? I mean you're facing Young with the initiative, I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? I mean, he's well prepared as well. But he's going to be blitzing out the moves. You're never going to know when his preparation ends somehow. Yeah, he's just playing like a lunatic at breakneck speed and playing really strongly as well. So I think this is yeah, I would say this is just going to be curtains for Max. I'm afraid it's just one of those things where you come up against a very strong guy who's in his element, really. Rook h4 played. Yeah, I don't know. Something like knight b3 feels quite tempting, I have to say. I'd be quite tempted to do that, and maybe e5, something like that as well. Plenty of moves, really. Rook g4 also not stupid. It's really this is a rough position for white. So yeah, Max is going to be doing very well to defend this. All right. Well, I think I'm going to just stop there. I might be back. Knight e7 to f5, slow Slav. Yeah. Also, ooh. Actually, I like that one very much, slow Slav. That one's really nasty. Ooh. Yes. Ooh, you've got an evil streak to you, slow Slav. That knight e7 to f5 is very nice. Yeah, I like that very much. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end the stream there. I've got to do help some family members with their stuff. But yeah, I'm going to be back at random times, maybe even later today if it's enjoyable. The lovely thing about it is that there's always something going on at chess.com and TCC. So even if there's no tournament going on, there's always stuff going on there. So always nice to follow, and lots of previous games to look at. But yeah, thanks very much, everyone, for this. Hope that these little streams are proving enjoyable. And yeah, just see you randomly at another time for another stream. Oh, and keep your eyes peeled for videos tonight, because I've got part 2 of this lovely video on the Austrian attack and Dragon's amazing idea 5 Queen D2, which has got quite a lot of engagement on social media. Really pleased about that, because I think it's a stunning idea. It's yeah, right. I mean, I think it's a very, very dangerous idea, because all the normal stuff that you do as a human player actually doesn't work very well against this move. I think you really need to be engine crazy in order to find the solution. So yeah, anyway, keep your eyes peeled for that, because that's coming out. But thanks very much, everyone, and yeah, have a good rest of the weekend, and hope to see you very soon.